I think where we might have a little bit of optimism is the fact that we have been seeing high-profile judicial measures being taken against perpetrators of corruption. So in the last few weeks, one does gain a little bit of encouragement that the government is actually starting to address corruption. And if we do, it can save the economy an enormous amount of money that can be redirected towards other very more vital areas of the economy. Secondly, on infrastructural investment, we've been talking about that for many years, but it seems like there is a real concerted drive now between the public and private sectors to combine to get this thing going. There are, of course, major impediments, lack of capacity to implement, but nonetheless, at least we are making some progress, and the announcement yesterday of the Mooikloof housing project is in that direction. We've also been encouraged by the announcement that the government is intending to free up the licensing for renewable energy projects and other independent power projects in the private sector, free of not having to be beholden to Eskom to bring this about. And the announcement of dates to auction out spectrum is also welcome. I know this is 3 years late, but it still is an encouraging thing.
Yeah. So there is some movement, is what you're saying, and I've heard investors are waiting for more details on the infrastructure plans because that is where government and the private sector can work together, and private players can get involved and jobs can be created. He ended that address to the ANC Lekgotla saying implementation, and that's the word, the buzzword. So you're saying that is actually starting to be looked at, how we actually implement these plans. We've had many plans on the table.
Correct, and I would say that many of us analysts have been calling on the president to implement. And one is just encouraged that there seems to be a little bit more movement in that regard. And, one can only speculate, but a few weeks ago, there was speculation that the ANC's National Executive Committee was going to ask the president to stand down. And instead he came out of the meeting, guns blazing and berating all who had been guilty of corruption. And one almost gets the impression that there might just be a turnaround in the factional battles within the ruling party in such a way that one may be able to start seeing more leadership in actually going ahead and implementing many of the ideas that are needed.
Yeah.
The ANC knows, we all know very well what needs to be done. It's just that it's never being done. Everyone's talking about it, but it's not being implemented. And now you have the president calling for that to happen. And I suppose one can draw some encouragement and hope that this will turn out to be the case.
Yeah, and you would think these are two different issues, economics and then talking about corruption, that's more political. But in fact, investors look at this, Azar, don't they? It's about confidence. And do you think those arrests that we've seen will build confidence? And also what he's saying here, that there will be talks within the party itself on what to do about other politically exposed people. So state officials should not do business with the state, but it often is a family member said to be benefiting. So maybe we'll get some concrete policy out of this.
I'm very hopeful that will be the case. You cannot separate corruption from the economy. The fact is that corruption has really taken the form of a premium being paid on procuring processes to be and activities to be conducted by government. The moment you eliminate that premium, you are saving, anywhere between 2 and 10% on all government activity, and that money can be redeployed elsewhere much more effectively. And to actually go into the individuals in government and stop that process could save the country a huge amount of money. I don't know that we will ever recoup all the money that has been lost through corruption, but simply to reduce the levels of corruption materially could result in unexpectedly large savings to the fiscus that may begin to start reversing the decline in the fiscal situation that we've seen in the last year.
Yeah, and if the right companies are getting the right contracts, there's also that efficiency benefit there. Finally, Azar, before we let you go, he spoke about energy security. How would you say we're doing on that score? We've seen load shedding adding to the COVID-19 woes, and the unbundling of Eskom, that's still happening sometime.
You've got to realize this is a hugely complex process, and it also encapsulates the pricing of electricity that, whether consumers like to hear it or not, has been far too low for too many decades, and it's a legacy of the past. But I think that little by little we can start making inroads with the right leadership and the right people in place to start managing things. Unfortunately, a lot of the management of Eskom was given to people whose interests were to line their own pockets in the past, and this really did a lot of damage to the organization. It's going to take quite a while to claw this back, but, I think we may be starting to be embarking upon that path to recovery.
All right, thank you so much, Economist Azar Jammine. And Griselda, a big talking point there, corruption. How clamping down on corruption will go a long way towards dealing with our economic woes.